They told you the Illuminati was a conspiracy theory, a cabal of rogue elites, secret handshakes, pyramids, and bloodlines. They sold you a cartoon, an absurd parody scripted to provoke ridicule instead of reflection. They made the myth so grotesque, so unbelievable, that when the real thing stood in front of you, naked, functional, global, you wouldn't recognize it. Here's the truth. The Illuminati is real, but it isn't hiding in the shadows. It isn't secret. It's televised. It's tweeted. It's legislated. It wears credentials, wields personal data, and laundered itself through institutions long before you were born. It doesn't slink through the night in cloaks and symbols. It stands beneath stadium lights in $1,000 suits, drops bombs by proxy, funds ethno-nationalist regimes and surveillance states, and smiles through press conferences while your rights are signed away in bipartisan ink. The Illuminati isn't a cult. It's a convergence. It's not a secret society. It's a system of systems, and that system has a name: the Axis of Endarkenment. This is not metaphor. This is not mythology. This is a real philosophical structure, a moral topology, a civilizational attractor state. It is traced not through symbols, but outcomes, not through dogma, but patterns. The Axis doesn't care about your culture, your creed, your skin, your language, or your declared loyalties. It is defined by function and by function alone. And what it produces, without fail, is the systemic dismantling of liberty, reason, dignity, and the conditions required for becoming. Because that is the deepest truth beneath the rubble. The Axis doesn't fear rebellion. It fears emergence. It fears conscious agency. It fears self-authorship. The fire of becoming is its antithesis, and it knows it. The goal is not merely to dominate. The goal is to prevent the evolutionary ascent of the individual and of the species. It wages war not just on justice, but on potential, not merely on dissent, but on metamorphosis itself. This is why Trump, Musk, Netanyahu, Xi, Modi, Putin, and Orban, despite their cosmetic contradictions, move in synchrony. This is why liberal democracies and autocracies, capitalist empires and theocratic states, commissars and CEOs all reinforce the same architecture of control. It's not that they collude. It's that their systems, abstracted to their purpose, obey the same dark algorithm. Suppress the sovereign self, elevate the supremacy of force. They are dissonant notes echoing the same anti-human chord. Priests of rival temples worshiping a single unholy command: obey. If you want to see the Axis, don't decode flags, don't parse manifestos, study behavior. Apply the Enlightenment scalpel that cuts illusion from truth. POSIWID. The purpose of a system is what it does. Ignore the slogans. Watch the results. So what does it do? It criminalizes resistance. It rewards compliance. It wages wars in the name of peace and silences dissent in the name of safety. It censors thought, monetizes trauma, and fragments identity into marketable data streams. It lies with authority, then gaslights you for noticing it, then funds genocide while issuing statements of concern. It rebrands occupation as diplomacy and repression as responsibility. It wraps its boot in empathy and teaches you to feel guilty for resisting. It is ancient. It is modernized. It is global. It is decentralized. And its most powerful spell is this: most of its servants don't know they serve it. Consider Israel and Iran. Officially, they are mortal enemies, but systemically, they are mirrors. Both run surveillance states, both enforce hyper-militarized ethno-theocratic nationalism, both manipulate narrative to manufacture consent, both claim moral exceptionalism to justify brutality. Strip away the flags, the scriptures, the speeches, and listen. The hum is the same frequency. Oceania and Eurasia, forever at war, forever identical, forever a lie. And caught between them, Palestine. Not just a people, but a symbol, a wound, a sacred scar in the moral body of the world. Gaza is not merely a site of Zionist atrocity. It is a weapons lab, a testing ground for surveillance infrastructure and algorithmic repression. It is a pawn exploited by strongmen from both sides to perform virtue while crushing their own. Gaza is not only colonized by Israel, it is colonized by systems. The tragedy is not just national, it is civilizational. It is the axis exposed in pure form, without camouflage. And here's where the illusion fractures deeper. The Democratic Party is part of it. Schumer, Jeffries, Biden, these are not guardians of the Enlightenment. They are its polite pallbearers, stewards of decay in palatable form. They stabilize a system that cannot be reformed, and they teach you to be grateful for the tone of your oppressor. They are the velvet glove around the neoliberal fist, functional fascism with a gentler voice. But nuance matters. Not all who serve the Axis are bound to it forever. Not all who stood in the palaces of empire are forever enthralled by its lies. Some glimpse the fracture lines and recoil. They may not yet see the whole structure, but they recognize its monstrous outcomes and choose to turn. They become what we must call case studies, partial exiles, half awakened, not saved but stirred. This is where men like Michael Steele and Adam Kinzinger enter the frame. Not as heroes, not as saviors, but as illustrations. Men who helped script the very logic of dominance they now resist. Who once clothed imperial hierarchy in patriotic language, but who recoiled when Trumpism stripped away the veil and revealed the authoritarian skeleton beneath. They have not connected Gaza to Georgia, Wall Street to Riyadh, or Silicon Valley to Pyongyang. They still cling to corrupted institutions. But they walked toward truth. And that matters. Because Enlightenment is not a party or a nation. It is not a manifesto or a moment. It is a motion of the soul, a direction, a flame, and it is the refusal to kneel before force, the sacred act of saying no. And that's the core. This is no longer about capitalism versus socialism. It's no longer left versus right. It's not east versus west. That era has passed. The true divide is this: Enlightenment versus Endarkenment. The battle is not economic, it is existential. It is not cultural, it is ontological. It is the last stand of becoming against the machine of obedience. The Enlightenment was never finished. It was never Western, it was never white, it was never sterile. It was never safe. It was a worldwide revolt, a cosmic spark, an uprising of the human soul against thrones, gods, technocrats, and kings. It declared that no one rules without consent, that power must answer to truth, that liberty is not a gift. It is the condition against which all governance is judged. It was not a document. It was a rediscovery of sacred selfhood. And the Axis of Endarkenment is its backlash, its counter-revolution, the ancient parasite reasserting itself through modern means, the sacralization of hierarchy, the inversion of sovereignty. It is the old chain given digital form. It is the worship of control itself. But we are not subjects. We are not serfs. We are not assets to be managed. We are sovereign minds. The Enlightenment is not dead. It is rising. It is the flame of becoming, and no algorithm, no state, no autocrat can extinguish it. So we invoke an ancient phrase, not as a threat, but as a reminder, not as vengeance, but as balance. Sic semper tyrannis, thus always to tyrants, not the cry of an assassin, the law of moral gravity, the Enlightenment axiom that all power is conditional, and when that condition is broken, legitimacy dies. That phrase is not a threat. It is an equilibrium. It is the truth that systems built on lies will fall, either through decay or defiance. It is the pulse beneath every whistleblower's heart, every dissident's scream, every artist's act of rebellion. It is the sound liberty makes when it remembers its name. Because liberty does not ask, liberty does not beg, and truth does not kneel. We do not request permission to exist. We assert it. We do not wait for justice. We drag it into being. And when tyrants, whether gilded in democracy or armored in crowns, tighten their grip, we do not yield. We ignite. So let the Axis hear it. Let them feel it. Let them tremble before it. Sic semper tyrannis. The Enlightenment is not over. It is rising, and we are the dawn.